The Los Angeles Rams catch a W on their off day. We're going to talk about what the Commanders did for the Rams on Sunday Night Football versus the Atlanta Falcons. We're also going to discuss the Week 18 matchup versus the Seattle Seahawks, what it means for the Rams moving forward. Do they even care about this matchup? Does it matter? What does Sean McVay have to say about possibly resting the starters? All on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, as 88% of you guys are watching the videos, enjoying the content, but still not subscribing to the channel. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything to just press that subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest, and that way we can get you guys daily Rams content. Every single day we'll get you a Rams video on the Rams Digest. So do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Let's get into this though. Right off the bat, winning on the off day. I mean, is there any better feeling, right? You're a Rams fan. You win on Saturday night and maybe an ugly game. I know I've seen some comments, right? Some Rams fans are a little bit upset about how the offense is looking. They just got to kind of, you're feeling a little nervous at this time, right? You're on a nice win streak, but some of these wins don't feel as good, right? The Buffalo Bills win, you're on a high. I think we all felt so great about this team, and look what they just did versus the Buffalo Bills. And then all of a sudden, you can't really score more than 20 points on a consistent basis, and you can't get in the end zone consistently. And I understand the frustration. I understand watching these games saying this team is not looking that good, and the defense is looking solid, but they're just not looking that good. We should be blowing these teams out with a team scoring 6 points, 9 points, whatever it is. We should be the ones scoring 30 constantly, but that's not necessarily the way the NFL works, for one. But two, you are right, I think. Some fans who are questioning how solid the team has been playing offensively, you have valid concerns. Ultimately, at this point in time, who cares about those concerns? Let's be honest with you, right? We made the playoffs. You have a week off now. Let's practice, getting some interesting plays in, some creative plays in now, right? Moving forward, resting our starters possibly, week 18. Now you're in the playoffs. Let's talk about our week one, our wild card matchup, playoff matchup. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk about who we're playing, and let's focus on that, and then hope that the offense can figure out how to get creative, how to score a little bit more once the playoffs start. But you're in the tournament. That's all that matters, right? Let's not be super sad and down about the way they're playing necessarily offensively. Let's just be excited about the fact that they did what they had to do to get into the tournament. Now they're in it. Now we'll discuss the kind of issues and concerns we have moving forward, right? So let's have some fun with it, right? Let's have some fun. The Rams secured the NFC West Championship on their off day. This is from Sarah Barshop from ESPN, the staff writer. That's really what we have to focus on. You were able to enjoy the game on Saturday. Again, like I was about to say, Saturday, Arizona, not really the best scoring game. Some fans a little frustrated with how they played. You were able to go on Sunday, lay back, relax, watch the Browns. Okay, the Browns don't do what they have to do. The Bills did what they had to do. Browns don't do it. Okay, we'll see what the Vikings can do. Vikings do what they had to do. And then we're sitting there watching the Commanders possibly almost not do what they had to do as the game went to overtime. A little bit scary there. But hey, the Washington Commanders did the Rams a favor, took care of business, because let's be honest, tonight, San Francisco versus Detroit, you're not really anticipating San Francisco comes on top of that game. If they do, great, but if they don't, right, you would have been sitting in a situation where if Atlanta just won the game, now the Rams have to go into Week 18, have to battle it out. Instead, the Rams fans were able to enjoy a nice win from the Washington Commanders. Now we can sit back, relax, and know that no matter what happens the rest of the season, the last week of this regular season, the Rams are in the tournament. They're in the playoffs, and they are hosting a playoff game. I think that's one of the biggest things, and I'll probably be at that playoff game as well. But that's one of the biggest things, right? You're hosting a playoff game in the playoffs. Let's smile a little bit about that, right? The Rams were 1-4. They are 10-6. Let's put a smile on our face if you're a Rams fan. Let's enjoy the situation that they're in now. Again, I acknowledge there are things they need to do, but let's move on and see what it is they are looking at in terms of that playoff spot that all these teams have clinched. So these are all the teams that have clinched in the playoffs. Now there are a couple spots open. As you see on the top, it says there's one playoff spot available for the AFC, one playoff spot available for the NFC. But these teams all right here you're looking at have clinched the playoffs. These are the teams that will be battling it out in the tournament for the Super Bowl, or a chance to at least play in the Super Bowl. Right, we see the familiar faces with the Chiefs and the Bills, the Ravens and the AFC, the Vikings, maybe a little bit of surprise, the one seed in general compared to how we expected their season to go at the beginning of the season. The Lions are in the mix, the Eagles, but the Rams are sitting there at the top 3 seed. Now, of course, you can say what you want about divisions and how that works, right? And if you're a division winner, then all of a sudden you are in the playoffs, and some people have been arguing that shouldn't be the case for years. Right now, it still is the case, and the Rams are sitting at the 3rd seed right now in the NFC because they are the winners of their division. Whether or not the division was great doesn't matter. And I think, let's be honest, 10 wins is impressive, though. And I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago, but 10 wins is a good job, right, for a team, any team in the playoffs. And I think a lot of teams talk about that. If you get to 10 wins, you're probably making the playoffs. The Rams, they did their job. They got to 10 wins, and they are winning their division because of it. And so they are now hosting a playoff game. And it's interesting now the situation we find ourselves in, right? We talked about how we were really rooting for the Washington Commanders yesterday, watching Jaden Daniels, watching that offense try to figure it out, watching them try to march on the field and score, rooting for this team to win yesterday. And now you may have to root for this team to lose, as we are obviously, as Rams fans, are going to want the Rams to win, right? And the Commanders look like that's the matchup you're going to have if you are a Rams fan. A wild card round looks like it's going to be Vikings getting their bye week off, the Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles for their playoff matchup in the wild card round, and the Commanders will be traveling to Los Angeles to play the Rams at SoFi Stadium. We also see at the bottom we have a Lions on the road because they are they were not the 1st seed in the NFC. Again, some people argue that they should change the way the system works for the playoffs. But regardless, the Lions, understanding they have to travel to Tampa Bay, possibly Atlanta, I believe, is the last team possibly fighting for that playoff spot. The Lions looking like they're going to have to travel to Tampa Bay to face Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But focusing on what the Rams have to do, playing a rookie quarterback, right? And I think of all the teams that are left, right, all the teams you could have potentially played, the Lions, the Packers, the Commanders, how likely those matchups would have been. Say you would have played one of those teams, I think if you had the choice, the Rams would probably choose the Commanders. I think Rams fans would probably choose the Washington Commanders as being the team you play. Now, I'm not saying that's an easy win. I'm not saying it's not anything to be scared of, but it's simply the team that's the lesser of the 3, if we're being honest about. The Commanders were not really a great team last year. They draft a quarterback. People had question marks on Jaden Daniels. He comes out Offensive Rookie of the Year, most likely the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC altogether, I think, this season. And so we're not really excited or ecstatic to say it's an easy win versus the Commanders, but it's the lesser of the 3 evils that we're looking at, right, in terms of Packers and Lions. Packers are playing well. They're a good young team. You saw what they did last year to Dallas. The Lions, of course, we know what they can do. We know how good they've been all season. So the Commanders is not too bad of a draw if you're talking about from the perspective of the Rams. And so I think it's a good matchup. The Rams are going to go in. You're facing a rookie quarterback, right? Maybe he's not prepared for the big lights. Los Angeles, it's SoFi Stadium. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to play. It's indoors, so the weather's not going to be too much of an effect on the rookie quarterback, but ultimately not going to be too much of an effect for the Rams. Their offense, hopefully they can figure it out, throwing the ball wise. Hopefully the run game could do what they can do. You saw what Bijan Robinson did in the first half to the Commanders defense, right? And so we'll get into details about what this matchup means for the Rams, obviously over the next couple of videos. We still have the Seattle Seahawks to think about first, but I just want to kind of put in perspective. It looks like we're going to play the Washington Commanders, a team that I think the Rams can match up well with. And so, clinch in the playoffs. You're in the playoffs. You're in the tournament. That's all that matters. So now we have to kind of look at this week, right? And what are we going to do with the Seattle Seahawks? Is Sean McVay going to go ahead and rest the starters, or should he play the starters? And that's kind of a conversation I think we should look into. And I think we'll obviously have to look at what Sean McVay had to say about it. And we'll go dive into some of the history of, I think, what Sean McVay has done in the last few years of him being the head coach for Los Angeles Rams. But I really do want to ask, and I want to take advantage of this moment right now. If you're listening and you're paying attention right here watching this video still, hit me in the comment right now. Hit me with a comment and let me know. Do you think the Rams should, like if you were the head coach, you were deciding, you were in the building, should the Rams play their starters at least for a quarter, at least for a half? Like, what do you think? What is your opinion? Or just not play them at all? What is your opinion on, what's your stance on this? Do you think we should rest the starters, or do you think they should play a little bit or the whole game just so that way they can kind of keep a rhythm going? You guys let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you're still paying attention right here in this video. But I'm on the side of resting the players, and I think ultimately Sean McVay may be leaning towards that side as well, as we'll pull this quote up from him, from what he had to say. So this is Sean McVay talking about resting players moving forward after we know they clinched the playoffs. Sean McVay says, "I've got to look at a lot of different things. We'll see. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, so our focus and concentration will be on all right. How do we get an opportunity to play a complete game against the excellent Seattle Seahawks football team? until we have to decide otherwise, that's where my sole focus and concentration will be. And so, that's an interesting quote from Sean McVay, but it's kind of funny for me. I think after a while, you can kind of start to read between the lines sometimes when we're hearing these coaches and this, kind of PR kind of style of talk. If you really read between the lines, to me, it sounds like Sean McVay is just kind of saying the right things at the right time. Right now, he understands that he can't go out there and say, we're resting our starters, who cares, Seattle, blah, blah, we already made the playoffs, I don't care. He's not obviously going to go out and say that. He's going to be professional. He's going to say, look, we haven't made a decision yet. And ultimately, maybe they haven't made a decision. And, Sean McVay has bosses, and he probably has talked to the general manager as well, and some people in the higher up, right, than Sean McVay, and just kind of keep them in the loop of what the plan is and start talking about what the plan is. And so I think they maybe do have to make an official decision. He can't just come out and say, this is what I decide. He maybe has to make a group decision, a group effort with all the coaches and see what's right, what feels right, what's comfortable for the players and all that. And so Sean McVay saying the right things, but I do feel like it sounds like he is leaning towards resting starters. And we have a history of Sean McVay, right? He's been the coach since 2017, so we have a history of what he's done in similar situations. And we'll pull that up right now. As you can see here, I didn't want to pull this up from the Cameron De Silva story that we got earlier. And it says, in Sean McVay's first season, right, in 2017, they clinched the division week 16, back when there was only 17 weeks in the season. Just like this year, they were locked into either the 3 or the 4 seed. McVay showed no preference for either seed, choosing to rest his starters in Week 17 against the 49ers. A game the Rams lost 34-13. They then lost to the Falcons in the wild card round 26-13. So you could look at this situation. Sorry, let me pull it up again. You could look at this situation and say, well, we got to play our starters. Because look, the Rams rested their starters. They got blown out. We got embarrassed by a division rival. Then we went on and we got embarrassed and lost a big kind of a solid difference, right, versus the Atlanta Falcons in the wild card round. This is why you need your starters to play. And I understand that. Again, I hear that. But let's not focus on that yet. Let's just look at what Sean McVay has done in the past. So 2017, very similar situation to they're in right now. And that's what Sean McVay decided. Rest of starters, it didn't really work out for the Rams in that situation. But we'll move on to a different situation, right? Where let's see, pull up this screenshot here. Where the Rams faced a similar conundrum last season. Just 1 year ago, they clinched a playoff berth, Week 17. Had the opportunity to rest their starters against the 49ers again, Week 18. They were locked in as either the 6 or 7 seed. McVay didn't see a difference in being significant enough to play his starters, so he rested them, as did the 49ers. Rams actually won that game and secured the 6 seed last year, so it actually worked out ultimately. And then going back to last year, the Rams ultimately lost, right, to the Detroit Lions. So does it work? Does it not work? I think it depends in situation to situation. The Rams did rest their players twice in the Sean McVay era and lost their playoff games twice, right? Back to back. So, or not back to back, but in the back to back situations where they were in the same conundrum, they did lose those playoff games. So maybe you're sitting there saying, yes, you should play your starters because they weren't ready for the game. But was that the reason why they lost, right? Losing to the Atlanta Falcons was just a kind of a tough game. Sean McVay, rookie head coach, young head coach. Maybe he wasn't really ready for the moment. And then you're looking at this situation last year where we're really a better team than the Detroit Lions. I don't really know. So I'm not blaming those playoff losses, on the fact that Sean McVay rested the starters. I think every situation is different. You have to compare every situation differently. It just looks like, if we're looking at the history, though, Sean McVay tends to rest the starters. And I think it just makes sense, especially in this situation right now that we're talking about. We talked about this over and over and over again. I keep repeating myself, but the Rams need to be as healthy as possible going into the playoffs, because if they are injured in the slightest, look at Joe Noteboom, right? No offense to Joe Noteboom. He wasn't, too bad. He did what he had to do, stepping in for Rob Havenstein. But how many flags do we keep seeing, right? I heard Joe Noteboom's name more than we should, right, in a regular season game or a regular game in general. So you need Rob Havenstein. You need all the Alaric Jackson. You need all these guys to be as healthy as possible. Talking about Kyren Williams, Kupp, Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford. You need your guys to be healthy for you to even have a chance in the playoffs, to even think about possibly making a Super Bowl. And so that's where I think the Rams are in that situation where you heavily have to consider that. The health of your team. Yes, of course, you want them to be ready in a groove, ready to go. But Matthew Stafford's an older quarterback. Cooper Kupp is an older receiver. You need to consider the health of the player. So maybe don't rest every single starter. And of course, like offensive linemen and defensive linemen, typically they don't really get that much rest anyways. Defensive players as well. But some of your studs, maybe some of the young defensive linemen, you may want to give them at least a half off, right? Some of the defensive backs, give them at least a half off. Some of your linebackers, offensively, Matthew Stafford, maybe he suits up for a quarter. I would rather lean towards he doesn't, especially with Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, that duo specifically. And like a Rob Havenstein, right? He's dealing with a shoulder injury. Rob Havenstein gave Joe Noteboom another game under his belt to kind of prepare himself just in case he has to play in the playoffs. But ultimately, most of the O-line, running backs, maybe Kyren Williams plays a half, and just kind of rest your starters. I think that's where Sean McVay's leaning towards. That would be my route as well. Not resting every single starter out there, but some of the veterans, key veterans who need to be healthy rather than get reps. I think that's really the important key here for the Rams in their fight against the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to talk about this game all week long here at the Rams Digest, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. If you guys have not subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe. We really appreciate the subscriptions. Let you guys know, let us know that you guys want daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. That's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I'm out.